will start in July.
All right. Well, so far we've been discussing about the market and everything in this spectrum. And if I were to give my personal opinion of it, is that I see a need, but I see as well a lot of problems that comes out of it. But before going on with this, Cam, you had a question, didn't you?
Um, well, basically, my question is how can we. Sorry, the word is on the tip of my tongue.
It's all good. I put you on the spot.
Concretely,
Yeah.
bring these concepts to our life today, especially talking about the realm of art and um, fitness. Um, those to me are things that right now cost a lot of money and are not very accessible, but I feel like they should be. And I'm wondering if you guys can help me.
Okay, so let me rephrase a little bit, and you tell me if I get the idea right? So we have the market as a mechanism to trade and provide access to things, and you're an artist, is that right? Or dancer, or okay. So you're thinking about offering dancing classes to people, and or fitness classes to people. Uh, and the way we frame it in capitalism is, well, you have a service and there's a market for these services and there's a cost, okay? There's a price that people have to pay, and then you use this income, okay? The transaction goes through currency. They'll pay you some dollars, okay? And then you'll use that in return to buy your materials and set up the space and eventually eat something and pay your rent, right? So how can we? So that generates that system. You providing this service as it's seen by capitalism creates a barrier to entry for those who would like to have the service, right? And you think that doing exercise and participating in art classes should be more accessible for people. So we're talking about accessibility, right? But at the same time, we want you to do it in a sustainable way. So the conundrum is living in a market-based capitalist society. Everything is transacted through money on the marketplace. How can you do it sustainably, and how can you provide that in a very affordable way to others, right?
If I may, I believe that the reason why it's so expensive to go in fitness and art is because this this is absolutely sarcastic, clever system of ours, um, the more there is a demand, the more expensive is the product. And so let's say, by example, the beautiful curls that he were a product, all right, that he was selling, and that originally there were only you buying it. But now suddenly there's Tibi, what was your name again? Iman and Ricardo now in the room, and we all want a piece of it. For some reason, people came to the conclusion that the best thing to do is to make the price higher, which to me is, and to most people, immoral, but it's still what we decided, not we, but what the people in charge decided to implement in our system. And it goes like this with everything. The more there is a demand for things, like those jackets, the 50s leather jacket, black leather jacket. There was a time where you could buy those for $20. It was cheap, and most people wouldn't buy it. Then people like rock stars started to wear them, and now suddenly it's so expensive. Working boots became Timberlands, and then it goes on and on and on and on. To me, the thing is that we lost our way in this paradigm, this spectrum of nonsense. And we basically have to find people willing to take the sacrifice, because I'm stating the word sacrifice with the idea that these people will probably, in the end, not have an equivalent exchange. They will have to give more of what they have, what they know, what they can do to be able to bring back a certain balance. And in your case, that would mean that you would have to be able to create a community center, a dance center, or whatever the term that you would give to it, and charge more reasonable prices with it. But then that would mean that you would have way more demands. What would you do? How would you handle all of this? That would be my answer. Do I help you in any way by what I just said? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Great, 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 great.
So if you build a community center, then so I think because you asked the question before we started recording, and you said, "How can I buy the things I need in order for me to provide this service?" I would rephrase the question. I would say, "How do I get access to whatever I need in order for me to be able to provide this service sustainably at a lower barrier to entry for those who want it?" So, because if you say, "How do I buy the things?" you imply that the way you acquire things is still through the market. And I think if you stay in the market, there is no out of it. There is no way out of it. If you stay within the market logic, there's no way for you that you can be sustainable at the same time provide this service for free. Okay. But suppose that, like he says, you create some sort of a community and you're embedded in that community. And in that community, there's a lot of stuff going on. It generates some other ways to support yourself. Maybe the community will provide you free living. People spend 30% of their income
Ideally,
On
they spend more
on rent, right?
Way more than
Way
30%.
more.
At our age, way more.
Now,
I would
a lot
say
of people
60.
third.
Yes. So let's say you find a way to eliminate 60% of your income, the need of 60% of income, because your habitation, your living is taken care of. Okay. So here's one example. You can probably go to the McGill Ghetto, and there is a cohabitation zone there, and you can say, "Give me a space to live, and I will provide this service for the community." So everybody in the community and their kids, they can come, and probably their family members that don't even live there, they can have access to these things. Okay, so it's a sort of a trade within that community that goes outside of the market and takes care of 60% of your monetary needs. You see what I'm saying? And then 2 days a week, you can provide this course for free for that community, and the rest of the day you go and work somewhere to be able to eat. And then the question is, how far can you go? Can you even eliminate the need of the other 40%? I think the idea now is that you can't do it alone. So the whole idea of getting embedded into a community where there is other arrangements that supply whatever something you need.
To a certain extent, you can do it alone. We have a lot of examples of it around the world. And I have names on my phone, but it's way too far. But we have example. It is possible. And for this, you would only need self-sufficiency in the spectrum of needs. All right. I'm not talking about desires and like Mac and things like that. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about heat. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about all those core things, basically, like he was saying. If you are in a state or in a position where you don't have the community yet and you can't introduce your perspective and ideas to people, you are not hopeless. We are in a world of resources, a world of opportunities. It's 2018. 20 years ago, I would have never been able to tell you what I just said. But now, hell yeah. Now, truth is, in the beginning, you would be introducing yourself to a harsh journey. Because if you are an everyday jack, that means you have no idea how to take care of your plants. If you're a real seedy person, you don't know how to take care of your plants. You don't know how to grow food. You don't know how to water it. You don't know how to plant it. You don't know anything when it comes to your needs because society came to you saying, I am the one that will take care of it. Lol, isn't it? But now, through time and through patience, through sacrifice, which is not necessarily negative, because when you go train, as you tear up yourself, as you are in pain, when you practice for ballet and that you can't get the right move, when you, all of this, it is sacrifice. It is you having to bow to pain to reach success. And at the end of the day, you learn how to walk through learning how to fall, right? So the true solution to your issue and to all those artists that would like to teach and all of that, if it's not community, it's self-sufficiency, and so education. From my perspective, of course.
The supply of the basic needs.
Yeah, I think you can add something here because so you're just to introduce yourself. It's about permaculture, right? So permaculture, you have a lot of these cycles, okay, cycles into cycles, loops, right? That address the needs of every little creature, element, living system within that larger ecosystem. So in the end, this is the kind of things we're trying to do, right? So the market sees us as individuals transacting stuff, and based on supply and demand, mediated by a currency, and if we apply the market to everything, there's aberrations, right? So how do we escape this market? We kind of have a monoculture.
Yeah, escaping
in
linearity.
society.
Escaping the linearity and going to a more holistic approach where how can I arrange a dance class at the same time benefit the community that have a space that don't know what to do with it, at the same time give the children of those parents a class that otherwise they would pay hundreds of dollars per month to access. So looking at things in not linearly independently, but as a whole system, as an ecosystem that has different relationships and connections. Yeah, coming back similar to what you say. So how can we design the system so that the input of one is the output of the other, and it all falls down into one structure.
So that's nice. That's synergies, right? So
that's interesting.
So let's say you provide the service to the community gives you housing. You already eliminate a big chunk. And then maybe by you providing that class of dance and fitness, you add value to the space. There is a trend in real estate, which is if you have a building, to cut it down into a different price ranges so that you add diversity and create an ecosystem of that building. So they say all the buildings should have 10% of their space, low cost, and give it to artists because they create a life inside. And that life creates flows in your building and adds value to your building. So then you can rent the higher apartments for a higher cost. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So suppose you have your apartment and you do monoculture. You just sell it by square footage. Okay? Then you can generate X amount of dollars income. But if you're smarter and think about that building not as rented square footage, but as a living place or a place to live, where there's activities, events, people are happy. Make people happy in some way. Make people stick there. Make other people visit the building.
The flow, increase the flow.
Increase the flow, right? Because there's an event. Because there's some people talking about the markets one night. Because there's a cafe that do some art show or some dance. Okay, and then you expose that to other people. So if you cut it down, you say low barriers to entry for those that create life, and then you can charge higher prices. If you do the total, you might even end up, in a capitalist way of thinking, monetizing that building even better.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because of that life that you created around. You see, so he added
But
something to the
but
propositions.
to the
Yes.
scale, he pretty much created a culture within the building. It's like some form of. It's not even a community. It's pretty much a society with different classes and different interests.
Diversity.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
That this diversity, I think, is what you're imagining, and this diversity of companions from an agriculture perspective.
Yeah.
It's these companions that actually have evolved to work together, and just like natural systems, they have evolved to grow together, and thus they will help each other as they grow. They will reduce the amount of stress on each other and improve the overall result.
Whether
will
they're big
reduce-
trees or small trees.
Yes, they reduce the amount of maintenance individually needed because, well, this output is actually an input somewhere else. So
Yeah.
there's no maintenance needed. It's somehow automatically funneled somewhere else. So overall, yes, the system is much more
Yeah.
rewarding
Yeah.
in terms of benefits.
Yes. So you take your venture, okay, and you don't just think about it as a business in terms of monetary exchanges for your needs and for your offers. You need to pay rent, you need to pay electricity, you need to eat, and then you offer a service, so you get the money to do that. But think of it more holistically, right? And you say, well, my service can be seen just as a service that I monetize, but could be seen as an advantage for somebody because I bring life to their building. And if you knock on the doors of all the buildings around, maybe 90% are going to say, "What are you talking about? I don't understand. I don't need you. I don't need music here. I don't need people to dance around here." Okay. But maybe there is one out of, I don't know, 100 that would say, "What a great idea." And so then what is your value proposition? What are all the dimensions of value of your activity? There is monetary value, but there is also value added to the liveliness of a building. You see, there is also value added to the users that might say, "Oh, come and give it to us, and we'll give you something in exchange." So what is your value proposition in a multidimensional value space, not just monetary?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Product or service against money, okay? And then develop symbiotic relationships within your environment, okay? Here's another one, for example. Now, when you create a place to dance, you create a gathering. And when we create a gathering, you can extract value from attention. So what if you offer cookies that are given by some cookie maker in town, okay, and that sees you as a way to promote their cookies? You see? So there's another value of your offering, which is
Promoting.
once you gather people in one place, there is a new dimension of value emerging.
Promotion.
Okay, attention,
Oh.
promotion. Okay, because you can gather attention. If the only cookie you give to the people is the cookie coming from that guy, everybody here will know that cookie, right? So as you generate this event, you're not just generating value for the users, those who take the classes. You're generating value for the environment, for the building. You're generating value for the cookie maker. You see what I'm saying? So I think what we need to do is break these stupid habits of reducing everything to a service and a monetary
A straight
equivalent.
line.
You see?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
seeing your thing as more complex than that. Like, what kind of values you generate by just offering this service? What are the
But if I may,
alternative ways people can benefit from that? You know what I'm saying?
if I may ask the question that anybody would ask if they're not as open-minded as we are, how? Because you see, to be able to, because this is knowledge, this is a form of data that we've implemented in our head as a reality. We need money or we die, right? So now, how do you dissociate yourself from such a powerful thought? Such a in the idea that you are surrounded in our everyday life by people that will think like this too. Your system preaches. In the songs that you listen to, people remind you how ridiculous rap, hip-hop. Nowadays, hip-hop is not about freedom. It's about, hey, look at how well I did and how broke you are. It's ridiculous. It is, and it's frustrating. And it's because now you have those people that are there and It's like some friends of mine that they wanted to be able to dissociate from this, and they couldn't do it without going in an extreme. Well, it's their packers. You know, they're in a big ass bag, and they walk around and they love their life. But sometimes I have some of those friends that will interact with me and be like, yo, I wish I could be just getting an apartment. But I can't stand to be in a place that I don't like, I don't appreciate, I don't even follow any of their values or policies or whatever. But I need to be there working my ass off, giving them 40 hours of my week, or else I will die of starvation. You know, how do you dissociate from capitalism without failing?
Well, we're kind of trapped now. It's a dominant system, and whenever you live inside a dominant system, um, you
It's easy to fall in the trap.
yes, and sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah.
Okay, it's look at the credit card. If you don't have a credit card now, you can't buy a plane ticket, and you know you have a lot of problems. So the system, as it becomes dominant, creates what we call network effects. You know, so it traps you because it's very convenient just to follow the path that is prescribed. So the whole idea here is that many people think that we are in a transition period where there is a new economic, socioeconomic system that is kind of growing and brewing and emerging.
Yeah.
But it's at its infancy, and it's developing within the larger matrix. Okay. So now we see all these conflicts. You know, there's people that want to do stuff differently, and they feel better doing this stuff differently, adding a sense of purpose, and you know, adding more variety to their lives, and not just be a consumer. But you know, there is a desire to do that, and there's a huge desire. Okay, so you can say that the mainstream system is in crises. People are fantasizing to get away from it, and when that happens, if you look at countries, okay, when people are starting to fantasize to run away from that country or to topple the government, eventually it's the start of the
Yeah.
so we're kind of in that, but it's and we yes, so it's difficult. It's difficult to do what you do because what you would like to do, because there's some work involved in order to set up all these relationships, for example, you know, and first of all, you have to know how to think about it, right?
Mhm.
Because you have to get out of the dogma. Whatever they teach you in school, if you go to a class about business, they will only tell you about, oh, you have a service, study the demand, and here's your service, here's your cost, you know, do your balance sheet and see if you can pay the rent, and you can, you know, how many people you need to offer the, you know, very simplistic, right? So you have to, first of all, we have to be able to think outside of the box, you know,
Yeah.
and then deploy some efforts more than we need. Why? Because we're up against the system. You know, talking about Black emancipation, when they started, it was so hard because you have to prove yourself 10 times more than the white guy to get the job, to get in school, to, you know what I'm saying? Because they were in a dominant white system, okay?
Yeah.
And that was a marginal thing, the emancipation, you see? But slowly, they built their own things. And slowly, first of all, they learn how to not think like a slave, like they were beaten down to think, you know? So, hey,
They learn to
we're
challenge.
confident we can come out of there and do shit
They
because
learn to challenge the system and ask for their rights,
exactly.
for all of those things. But however, it's if we are to take this example, people get afraid. That's the thing. The people that acquired freedom, what was the result? You think of, you don't even need to go to an example as extreme as blacks. Think of hippies. What did they do to hippies? They shot those people. They were walking around with flowers. They killed them. The hippies. You know, I never knew until last month why they vanish. Their culture is not so present anymore. And I read an article about it. And it's like, based on history, right now things wouldn't be the same way, but based on history, when you're a common citizen, if someone would be looking at this right now, a part of him is enlightened and da-da-da, but then a part of him is thinking, all right, who are the people that seek for freedom? What happened to them? oh, it's not because they were black or Latinos or Arabic. It really is the term freedom. And that's the thing. We need like I think to a certain extent, people need to see people succeeding in there. They need to see people that are willing. They need new leaders because that's what a leader is. It doesn't need to be a democracy or communism or any form of any that. The leader doesn't need a leader doesn't need to talk to its people. A leader is simply someone that is capable to know the path. You understand? The king is led sometime by his chevalier and vice versa. And it goes like this. A leader is not a matter of status quo or position or money. It's just a matter of capability. Or and in this case, the capability that the people are seeking is someone or some people that would be willing to be fearless, to go forward, and to tell them, come with me. Because right now, all the people that say, come with me, are the people on the other side that say, stay here. We're safe. We're comfortable. So it's okay. Like we've adapted to comfort, and now comfort is this illusion of joy. It's like my friend right now. I have a friend, and God, sorry if you're seeing this, that chose medicine a while ago. He doesn't like medicine. He has no interest in medicine, and he fucking despises mathematics. Now the question is, why did he do it? Well, what he told me, and what he would still tell me if I could hang out with him, is he needs a future, and he needs money. And I'm here, and I'm trying to convince him not to. And he would be like, "Yeah, Ricardo, man, bro, you're not like right now. You're not studying. You're not worried about your future." And at the end of the day, I would sound like the delusional cat. I would sound crazy. I would tell him to focus on something that he likes, passion. Find a way to generate worst case a business out of your passion and everything. And somehow this is delusion. This is and that's what I think to a certain extent what you said last time that I saw you, not at Sensorica, but here, the need of a new culture. This is drastically what would be the most efficient way to be able to make the people move forward towards a greater good and not backwards towards yesterday and the mistakes of yesterday. And it's because I understand where those people are from, like, and plus of that, they're stuck in ignorance. Plus of it, I've had like Uncle was telling me about her brother calling out the central bank. What was the term? How do you say this? Théorie de complot?
Yes, conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory, and I've had my mom telling me this about I was trying to explain once to my mom, like, how I don't appreciate what banks are,
Mhm.
And she was like, what? Why are you acting like you understand what it is? What is that? No. You read this somewhere. Like, this is not how it works. The government is here. The government is here to protect you and to take care of you and da da dee dum bum bum bum. And I would look like a doofus. Now, my question in this case is, how do you approach this to people in a way where they can respectfully answer to you?
Sometimes you don't have to tell them everything. Unfortunately, you don't have to tell everything to everyone. I wouldn't tell my mom the same thing I would tell my friend, because it's sometimes just hard for them. She'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna go pray for you." Oh my, it's a different time, different mentality, different. Sometimes you just have to keep it for the right people. Nothing that your mother is not right, but she's right, but she's not right for that conversation.
Yeah, well, no, but it's true. It's true. I like you're saying the truth, man. And I realized this not too long ago, ironically, even though I'm pretty old for realizing it that soon, that late, I should say. But and it still shocks me. I'm sorry, but I have a really hard time with how rationality is not the focus, how morality is not in the focus, how there are core things. I don't know, man.
Respect
Yeah, you know this. It's like the old say, "I'm older than you, so I know better." This is absolute nonsense. This is nonsense. This is what? What? I'm sorry, but I would have take Tesla at 30 years old and bring him to a bunch of 50-year-old, and they wouldn't understand jack shit of what he's talking about. You know, but those mentalities ingrained. So how did that happen? Culture. Someone said it, and somehow people started to repeat it, and then someone mighty or loved or appreciated approved. So now more people would start to say it, and it would go on like that.
Yeah.
You know, and right now, the culture that is developing itself, even though that we have all this awareness, data, information, it's still going down. Musically speaking, by example, when you listen to what we say nowadays in lyrics, it's so redundant. Nobody has the balls that were there in the past. Nobody, like, it's rare that you hear people challenging the government, challenging reality. I don't know, the music that I hear in bars, I'm talking about public places, not my own music. It's so fake. It's like a fake El Dorado that everybody
so
see.
There's no more social project. People are not rallying behind
Exactly.
some idea or ideals. I think when I say that there is an emergent system, and there are people like us in the fields of society that are very passionate about it and kind of understand what's happening. Well, we we're in a minority, and we don't have, like you say, a culture around us that could be and become an attractor. So people buy into not just an idea, but buy into a whole set of experiences that you create, right? And we see that, but there's a lot of I guess these are signs of decadence of societies when they just indulge in whatever it is. They ride the wave, right? And they just think about how to live well.
Yeah.
And it goes in cycles. I mean, Quebec was a very hard place in the 60s when there was a social project, was the emancipation of the French people. And they had, they built financial institutions, they built education institutions, they built industries. They had to build a society for them, and everybody was very engaged, and the culture was all, about emancipation, and there was a lot of energy in the air in Quebec, right? But once you achieve a certain level of achievement and status, then people go back and just have fun, just put it in an automatic pilot and ride it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you get the creation of these drones that people that don't ask questions, and they don't see how the system develops into this monster. They don't really realize it. They just become consumers that are not conscious about their things. But I think there will be another awakening, and it's kind of happening, on the different fronts. There's the environmental awakening. So there's ecological, awakening. In a sense, people are, sleeping, but there's a lot of people that feel powerless. It's like you come with an idea like that. I would like to be involved and distribute, art skills and dance skills and fitness skills, but I feel powerless. So I default back to whatever people tell me, and try to make a business out of it, right? Because you feel powerless. A lot of young people don't go to vote because they think it wouldn't change anything. So there's also a powerlessness. Once the system becomes dominant, and everything you see is that, and you cannot produce new ideas, you cannot think out of the box anymore, you think that you're up against the impossible. So I lived in Romania before the collapse of the communist regime, and you can say, how can people put up with that? How can you spend hours and hours to buy bread and milk and gas, like necessities? You take it for granted here, right? You just take the car, go to the gas station, and fill it up. So how can people put up with it when it's in your face? It's about food, right?
Yeah.
And when you open the television that it's all a lie. So the emperor is naked and everybody knows it's naked.
Yeah.
And how can still people put up with it? It's because of this feeling of powerlessness. You grew up in that system.
Yeah.
And a lot of people try to do something and they got arrested, and the system is dominant. It's everywhere. There is no corner where you can hide or a corner where you can start digging something.
Yeah.
So it took 45 years before there was a spark, and all this negative energy that every individual carried coalesced into a mass movement. And that's a phase transition. You see, and it's very interesting to see it when the day before everybody was walking in fear, and the day after, what you see is people going and ripping their shirt in front of their guns and saying, "Shoot me, I don't care."
Yeah.
The same guy was in fear the day before. So sometimes these transitions,
But how
they
do you
happen, they coalesce in some circumstances. It
How
takes
do you
like
help people getting there? That's the thing, because as he introduced me to this perspective, it was observe.
Allow, adapt, interact.
And I tried to use this based on what you just said. I was trying to pay attention to little details in documentary movies. I don't know, man. And I wouldn't find it. What in the hell made people that were terrified feel so powerful that death isn't a fear anymore? Because this is dangerous. First of all, let's be honest. This is a dangerous thing. Like, if you don't know how to do it, from making one person that is not submissive, but what would be the term? Fearful. Thank you. To an overconfident, limitless individual. Yeah. Now, society keeps us all, to a certain extent, submissive. And then you have this individual. This individual usually is either a maker of great good, like Julian Assange, like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or great bad, which I can't really give names because I don't believe the news, but a terrorist. Yeah? So now, if I were to tell people to march with me, how do you think would be the best way to approach them?
Involvement, sense of, like you were saying, the fear is due to the sense of lack of involvement, kind of like we don't have anything to do with it, or we cannot change anything about it anyway. So then give them the sense of involvement, meaning that yes, you actually, every little letter that you say will play a role in the movement. So involvement is the first way, and the second way is empowerment, meaning that not only your words are considered, but rather are encouraged. So you have the support that you wish to have, and then you have the confidence starting to emerge. And that's the goal of the sustainable and collaborative community, is to support one another and not reinvent the wheel, but rather attach each other's inventions and create this new thing that everyone has access to the benefits
it's
of.
a mass movement. It's a mass movement. The best way to control a population is to destroy the social tissue, so people don't trust each other anymore to act together. So I think it's not being as an individual. You will still continue to be in fear. When that transition happens, is because there's a critical mass of individuals that think the same, and then there is an opening that we can achieve that goal, and we realize that we do have the means and we can act. So I think I'm rephrasing what you're saying, right? In a different way. So there's the belief that, hey, if now we're here all together, so your identity becomes a mass identity, you know, and your life becomes meaningful because it's a form of spirituality in the end.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
You see yourself just an ant in a play of history.
Yeah,
You see,
well, that's
and,
pretty much.
and you
what it
know
is.
that if you act in a certain way, you add a little brick to that monumental project, and you know it's possible that it'll occur. So it goes back to, you know, if we wanna escape this kind of dominant system, you know, we have to kind of address the powerlessness of people, and yeah, you need to create more examples, have more people that become new types of entrepreneurs that
Results
Yeah.
show results.
that
Yeah.
don't use market logic, okay, but do it in another way. We call this collaborative entrepreneurship.
But then
this
there's
is your
laws
leadership.
limiting you a lot. Like us, like
Yeah.
personally, there's a lot of things that I was limited by, and I know that him, and when he started Praxico, like how you have to answer to the system at the end of the day.
Well, you have to make a lot of sacrifices, right? Because
Yeah,
it's not,
yeah.
But going back to your idea of leaders, you know, these people become the new leaders because they show other people that, you know, there is through action, right? That you're talking about leadership and capacity.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I can do it. It's not easy because we're in a dominant system. So everything I do, you have to work twice more. You know, but in the end, we can succeed, and there are examples of people succeeding. In the end, we can do something, and then so these are your leaders, right? That are popping up, and then you wrap that up into a culture and a new experience, and provide a new vision to society and wake people up.
Can I ask a general question to everybody?
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just
Go.
gonna make a comment on what Hadi was saying, that involvement is a really good word to use because we're all different. Like what makes you tick,
Mhm.
and what you want to march, you want to go, whatever. Another person, his concept of awakening might be different. I'm not saying yours is wrong or,
Yeah,
or
no,
the
no,
other
no.
person is right, but everyone ticks differently. So I guess involvement with everyone's need, everyone's vision of what awakening means to them is also very important. And then comes a moment when you need resilience. Okay, you got people on board, and now how do you keep them involved constantly? And then how do you build up this involvement? And because you could get involved, and then 2 months from now, I say, you know, you're not giving me, I'm not giving you anything, you know, by this sort of things, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. You were gonna ask.
Oh, my bad. I was thinking of what you said. What was I gonna ask?
I would like to add one thing. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. It's really simple. What do you people think of bigotry? And so, if I may, I'm basing this from my definition, if you allow me. The fight for ignorance, to be emotionally compromised when you are to be challenged because of this ignorance in any way. Example, I believe that Earth is flat. It's an example. So you come to me with facts and want to debate about it. Now, because you think differently, I start to degrade you, insult you, and be aggressive in various ways. What do you guys think of this? Do you believe that it is natural from humans? And do you believe that there is a way that we will ever get rid of it? Now, I'm not talking about individuals or people that are bigots. I'm talking about bigotry itself.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Could you rephrase it? I would say in
To make it even more
a
simple,
shorter way, so I just get it quickly.
what should we do with people like Trump?
You know, when you said bigotry, I know what you're thinking.
I would rephrase the question again.
Go.
So what would you do in the event that such individuals is part of your movement? Because in a collaborative and sustainable entrepreneurship, that's gonna happen.
Exactly. That's why.
So maybe that's a way to rephrase it. Do you want to?
Thank you.
Do you want to start?
Well, I see it as just a person that needs to learn. Grab the person by the hand and help them however you can.
STB says something. Twist. You gotta
Twist
go.
their arms.
Twist their arms. I personally think that any kind of conflict or disagreement is an opportunity for something new to be born. So, and this is something that we've dealt with Praxico as an example. So if you had someone that does not agree with the values or strictly wants to change them, well, be my pleasure. Fork out. It's
Explain to them what is fork out, because
fork out is not really the best way to say it, but
It's not
Fork.
like, get the fuck out of here.
yeah, it's more like
fork out is pretty much just to openly take your idea and to try it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Use whatever we built,
exactly.
get that we built together, and use it to
Proof.
do something different.
Prove to us that your point is correct. Prove to us that the Earth is flat. Here's everything we've done.
Yeah.
Do it. When you're ready, come back.
Yes.
This
You're
is
gonna be
peacefully
very
asking
tired.
someone to get the fuck out.
No, yeah. We're not asking. Yeah, it's not asking someone to get away, but rather, so ignorance is a perspective that is not yet acquired.
Yes.
So on their journey to find their solution, they are either gonna see this ignorance and figure out, change it into a perspective, which is a knowledge acquired, or they're gonna actually prove it right, because maybe you are ignorant, or maybe I am ignorant.
Yeah, to a certain extent, we're all.
We are all ignorant.
Yeah.
This is a trap that everyone falls in.
Yeah.
So you need to be in a collaborative and sustainable entrepreneurship that is to be expected from everyone without any exceptions. And that's why it is highly encouraged that people continue to do the things that they believe in, because in the end it could be correct.
All right.
I can add another perspective to that, which is that every time you work on something new or on the edge of the mainstream, you will feel the tyranny of the status quo, and it's a tough job. You know, sometimes it's not just stupidity or ignorance; it's just that people are not ready for some changes. And every new ideas that came from the fringes of society, and people had to push it. Even capitalism, at some point, believe it or not, was truly a movement of freedom, of economic freedom. Why should the king decide how we should do business and give us licenses to do something when we can just create a free market?
Yeah.
Okay, where let the entrepreneur be free to create value and bring it to the market, and if people like it, well, it is legitimate. You know what I'm saying? So it was a movement of freedom, and these guys were, very marginal, and they were going against the establishment. And there was a lot of people that were living out of the establishment very comfortably because things were established in a way, and they didn't want their lives to be shaken by these things.
Yeah.
So it's very tough. It's very tough to put up with it as you propose new ideas and new ways. But I think that's the again, to the establishment of new things, and you have to work double, to prove yourself.
Yeah.
That's the process, and I don't think we can ever eliminate that. And fortunately so, because otherwise society would go left and right at very high rates, and in that kind of environment, you can't build.
There would be a lot of chaos.
A lot of chaos, So in order to build, you need a period of consolidation, a period of calm. Okay, so there are new disruptions. People come in with new ideas, and they take on like a fire. And you have the Industrial Revolution, or whatever revolution you might think of, the Cultural Revolution, or so they're very disruptive. And during this period, there are losers and winners. People losing fortunes, and people that didn't have nothing, they rise to power. The way we do stuff in society, they get disrupted, inefficient. you know, and then there is a period of consolidation. Okay, and the system starts to grow and proliferate, right? And so this is when we build. This is when this and capitalism helped us to do a lot of stuff. If you think about it,
But don't you think that if
but then it becomes decadent again because it goes, you know,
Cycle.
there's a thing where the thing that makes you big will eventually kill you. There are such things in nature that help you up to a certain dose, and then become your enemy that you have to fight once
I
they
would
become.
like to.
But it's the same thing.
that's what I
Yeah.
was,
Like a lot
that's
of
why I
it's
was
the same thing,
interrupting
right?
you.
Like
It was to
bacteria,
say,
like
what do
a
you
lot
do
of
when you
things.
get there? You know, because
So
let's
then
say
the whole cycle starts again because you know the system becomes too big, you know, and then it rottens from the inside and it goes into areas
That's,
where it shouldn't go. You know, like you should not privatize healthcare or should not think about distributing healthcare services through the market. One example, right?
Yeah.
That we spoke about before. So the system grows and it grows in areas where it shouldn't go.
yeah.
You know, and then you start to see all these problems.
Well,
if I may add, I think the biggest lesson learned from this is that whenever you think that something is the solution, just keep in mind that it is a solution, and it's a solution to a problem, and that's always the case. That's the nature of life. There's order and there's chaos, and there's then order and then chaos, and then order and then chaos. It depends. So
But don't you think that humanity could become fully moral? I mean, you know the word trend. It's a really funny word. It started with things like this. You know, there was no caption on it. It was just a simple bracelet. A certain person wore it. Another person thought it was nice, spoke about it. Bing, bada, boom, boom, boom. Bracelets, earrings, everything. Trends. I've always been fascinated by them because I realize how they control the world. Now, if morality to a certain extent would become a trend, what would happen? Things like the story that I told you earlier, like this group of white people that went in Africa and that claim that this is their land and they are forbidding any black people to join to be in the land that they got, and they are talking about like getting the continent and crazy shits like that. Do you know, if morality would be a trend, they wouldn't do this because they would be despised by even their own people. They wouldn't be respected by their own people, right? Rationalism and morality somehow has been forgotten by humanity in evolution. Somehow it's not introduced to us enough when it comes to me. You know, I find it ridiculous how it's so not present. Morality and rationalism. Those two words could have drastically changed the fate of humanity in the conditions of living of the majority of people, which is the dying ones, because there are more people suffering and dying than anything. You know, how and why are those two words not in our foundations? Considering the good that they brought in every culture, the heroes, that's what they preach. Jesus, Muhammad, Gandhi, Buddha, it always comes back to it. So how come? What made us able to understand it but not try to do it?
I think because they are these qualities or terms are still labels that are highly dependent on individuals' perspectives. So if for one person this is my morality, this is my values, this is my moral, this is the solution, this is capitalism, as an example.
Okay.
So then if you take that one solution and claim it to be the solution for everything and the scalable solution that any industry can get in, that it can hop on any industry and work well, that is when we misunderstand the nature of life, which is that it's not that linear. There's always networks, there's always things connected. So the more adaptable the system is, the more adaptable the values are.
But there's such
The
thing as
better
general morality. For example, I know that it's not even morality. That's like common rationalism. If my fist goes towards your arm at full strength, pain will come out of it. That's why I don't greet you by a punch.
That is
Right.
one fist and one arm.
I know.
It's not the same for every fist and for every arm.
But how can I say this? In the Bible and in so many books, apparently it is told that treat people the way you would want to be treated. You don't want to get stabbed. You don't want to get raped. You don't want to get beat up. You don't want to get abused.
Yeah.
Right? So how come? How do you do it? And how can you do it in the name of the person that taught you to not do it?
You know what I think about this? Because I have a very pragmatic view on culture. These are also trends, and they go up and down with conditions. There was a time where honor was big, and honor was big in an environment where trade was dependent on honor. So when you had, for example, the Arab Empire, okay, so you had from Baghdad to Spain, you have a whole trading system, but you don't have internet. We don't have this kind of technology, okay, that allows you to establish trust from one side of the continent to another, right?
Yeah.
So honor was very important, meaning reputation was the backbone of that trade, because you're the son of that guy, and that guy's name is known in Spain, then you can be trusted to take the thing and bring it there and bring the money back. You see, without honor, there was no trade, and honor was so important that if you lose it, you can't do trade anymore, and people would kill for honor. So there was like an enforcing system around this, right? There was a time when science was big, the Lumiere, okay, in Europe, when there was this evolution of scientific knowledge, discovering of science, and moving away from religion, humanism,
Yeah.
So knowledge and became very high on our social standards. But so anytime I think all this kind of behavior or what we attach value to, it's dependent on the environment, and the ultimate level is dependent on the economy. So let's look at the capitalism. Capitalism legitimizes greed.
Yeah.
Because the story of the invisible hand is that good things for society emerge from greedy people competing. That's one of the foundations of capitalism. It's truly, this is what it is. So meaning people competing on the marketplace, okay, to sell more, okay, will bring the prices down, which will benefit the buyer. Okay, that's the thing of the invisible hand. That's the whole idea of the invisible hand, is that good will emerge from people acting in their self-interest. That's really the basis of capitalism. So in a way, you elevate some moral standards, saying, in the end, we want good for society. We want people to get access to stuff that they need at an affordable price. But that is an emergent phenomena from greedy little people that act in their own self-interest. Okay, and to a certain extent, it's true, but it's not true every time and everywhere. You see what I'm saying? So what happened is that we created an economic system where greed is rewarded. Okay, so if you're rewarded because when you act in your self-interest and in a greedy way, when you're rewarded because you can accumulate capital and become richer and buy yourself more stuff, and get the car and the girl and this and that, acquire the social status that is part of the culture now, people will have an incentive to act in that way.
Yeah, and ironically, the richer you get, the freer stuff. The most of the people that I know that are
So just to finish the idea, to finish the idea, I think honor disappeared because we created institutions that take care of that trust.
Yeah.
I don't have to trust you. You know what? We have a bank that absorbs the trust.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have to be an honorable person in order to trade with you.
Yeah.
Okay, because we use a mechanism that is guaranteed by a third party.
Yeah.
Okay. So institutionalizing things takes away the need for us to live together. Okay. I don't have to maintain relationships with my family because if I get old, the government is going to take care of me. I don't have to rely on my daughter or my niece or to take care of me. I don't have to rely on my family and neighbors to take care of my kids because they put them into a kindergarten. So as you institutionalize, as it creates third parties, okay, you kind of destroy the need for us to be respectful with each other and be honorable, okay, and and then the economy, the way it functions, there is no incentive. There is an incentive to be greedy. Yes, if I go out there to sell something, I wanna make you give me as much as you can. You know what I'm saying? The market price it's not based on the labor that went in or the resources
The
that went
pitch
in.
of a salesman.
Exactly. It's how much can I fool people to give me for
Yeah.
this? You see what I'm saying? This is how the price establishes. So there is no incentive to be. So we lost these things because they're not operational in our society anymore. You see what I'm
They're
saying?
not needed.
So they're not needed anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need to be nice to you. Why would I need to be nice to you? You know, if I'm into a problem, I'm gonna call my insurance. I'm gonna call my bank. I'm gonna go
The
to the hospital.
police, the hospital.
Exactly. So yes, we need each other to have fun and to have human relations, but there is not fundamental need. So this is why this society is breaking down, and all these values that used to be operational before. But that's my theory. I have a sort of not a deterministic theory of culture, but I do believe that if you put a system in place, an economic system in place, which defines how you get access to necessities, it will establish a culture on top of it. And so therefore the culture of honor back then, when there were no trade institutions, but there were just traders, okay, the culture of honor was a necessity for that trade to work. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And honor in the village is a necessity for you to, whenever you're sick, whenever you have a problem, for people to gang up and help you.
Yeah.
If your house burns,
To be
there's no
appreciated.
insurance to go, right? So you rely on your neighbors. You rely on your reputation. So I do think that economic conditions they inform culture.
You think we can bring this in nowadays economy?
I think what emerges now is a collaborative economy.
Okay.
It's an economy of interdependence, and I do think that we are going to. You already see the culture. It's a culture of sharing. It's a culture of collaboration. It's a culture of caring about not just our little neighborhood, but the planet. That's also a necessity that we have.
It's a culture of reviews. A lot of people are nice to you because you're gonna put a bad review. But with time, that's gonna reflect. They're gonna be automatically nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like
Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Do you see Black Mirror? Do you know Black Mirror on Netflix?
There's an episode
I
exactly.
was saying yes to what you were saying.
They made a show. This is amazing. Where they took pretty much everything that humanity is so proud about, technology, and etc. And they showed you how bad can it get in different possibilities. That's basically the goal of the show. It doesn't follow each other. Every episode is unique in a different type of technology. Black Mirror, and they have technology that games. They have things that give you the ability to be able to live longer or forever, but like not within your body and all kinds of things. And it's so beautiful what they did, just to show you how much of a failure technology can lead us. Like it's borderline scary. It's almost a scary show. It's like a scary movie type of show. And I recommend it to people that have lighthearted because it's really particularly intense. Like,
Oh yeah.
But
Mirror. I'm gonna check it out.
But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Sorry.
Just to wrap up the conversation, I'm gonna move the talking stick one final time. But this is gonna be a harvest in the sense that take a deep breath. What stuck in your brain most from this conversation?
Okay.
Do you want to start, or do I start this time from here?
No.
Yeah. Take a deep breath. What stuck most? What did you harvest out of this discussion?
The word community. When you said community and just thinking alternatively about this linear way of thinking about money and business, it really does feel like such a trap. This idea of like, if I want to be an entrepreneur and contribute to my society or to the culture that we live in, I have to have a business that works with money, that works in these transactions. That's a very set way to work with things, but just really just stepping back just a little bit really opens up the view of like many different possibilities. So I don't know.
That's a fantastic harvest.
Preach.
Thank you. I think my harvest of the day was not during this last discussion. It was about the fact that internet supplies any supply that is online that is not necessarily has a like an apple has a physical reoccurring value that is by nature abundance, and thus does not fall into the category of whatever trade or exchange, or not the conventional category at least. Yeah, and if it's artificially made sacred or scarce to fit the market needs, then I think that is absolutely non-ethical. I'm just very thankful that I was exposed to that today.
I would start with saying how grateful I am from that debate. That was incredibly lucrative, emotionally and mentally. Now, what I've hold the most from this wonderful conversation is, first of all, what she said. This absolute need to generate money. But it's always been there, really, so I can't say that I took it from the conversation. The other thing would be our conversation about leaders and how, to a certain extent, well, not to a certain extent, to be able to have an impact, those different choices that were needed to be able to have an impact, to first be able to find people with different point of views, with different ways of thinking, doing, acting, how everything pretty much that we've been saying is everything that was introduced to me, but in the polar opposite. Ironically, when it was introduced to me, it was for the goal that I am seeking. You understand? When I Google leader, the names that comes out first, I'm going to see Bill Gates. I don't know why. You know? And this guy is not a hero. Quite the opposite, but I don't want to get there. And I don't know. It's to be frankly honest, I don't want to be specific. I'm not going to continue. I really don't want to be specific because I took every ounce that was given to me in this conversation. And as much as I can, want to remember all of it because I am grateful for all of it. I would love to harvest all of it. Make a farm.
Thank you. I'm very thankful for all of you. I'm very happy to have participated, have come. And I guess I got a lot of reminders when we started talking about community also, and how do you be a creative, productive person, and at the same time feel like if you have a place and give something that people benefit from, not only you. And that's been my challenge since I started my company, and I've been doing different social models. I went through maybe 3 of them, and 2 seem to be working. The regular service money one, and the other one is bartering with other businesses, which I think helped me a lot. Just gain knowledge from them, and they gain knowledge from me, and we exchange clients, we exchange a lot of things, and that's great. But at the same time, I'm still looking for new things, and a lot of the ideas that you brought up, the real estate, the mixed income real estate, a lot of these projects, like I'm exposed to it, but it was a good reminder to hear. Just having an artist here and all that, I think that was really great.
Yes.
So the takeaway is about the process, because Hadi and I were thinking about creating a video series where we bring these topics to people. So we just jammed it, right? Took it from some initial ideas. We wandered around a little bit, but what I'm taking is when you have a diverse group of people, what can come out of this is at least some kind of optimism and a glare of solutions. So the least I can say about us discussing and producing these kind of videos, it's to break that bubble of powerlessness. You know, at least make people dream about, hey, you know what, these guys, they had a hint here, a hint there. I don't totally get it, but you know, I'm gonna dig more.
Sparks a lot.
And because it's diverse, because if it was me and him talking, because we know more each other, it
There
would
would be only
probably
two perspectives.
You're more
it would probably, yes, we would talk
Bias.
almost the same language because he comes from the sustainability and ecosystems and, you know, permaculture perspective, but adding more wild, I think it's a good experience.
Ça a ajouté du cachet.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to you know, personality, cachet, and you know, so yeah, first experience, I think is good.
Namaste. Thank you, people.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to finish this with a quote. The road to heaven is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I really hope we're going not on that path.
The road to hell is paved with good